This is version 0.1.26 of VisualSwift for macOS. So in a previous video I showed how to create this simple custom instrument that just plays a sine wave. You can see here the sine wave component. In this version there's a lot of new components. One of them, which is this scope wave phase gate, allows you to look at the audio like in a scope. So you connect what you want to look at on the first input, then your phaser and the gate, and now you can see it displays one cycle of each waveform independently of the frequency, and also it shows when you're playing 3 notes it will show all 3. So because there are 16 voices at the maximum, you'll have 16. Okay, so this component is quite useful for debugging issues. So in this version you have components that allow you to create your own waveforms and play them, and you do that with basically 2 components. One is the wave selector. Here you have like a collection of waves that you can select from, and you can create your own with codes that you type, and I'll show you that in a moment. So there's here there are 4 waves that you select. So you select from a list of waves, and you select 4 of them for wave 1, 2, 3, and 4, and they come out of these connectors. And to play them, there's this component called ph is for table, ph table x. Oops, don't want that. Ph table x for os. So I'll show the labels. Okay, so we have our phase. The phase basically just goes from 0 to 1. It's like a frequency, and we need to know the number of harmonics, because these tables that come out from here, I'm going to connect the tables now. So there's 4 tables, and each table has 512 waveforms for depending on the number of harmonics. There's a component frequency to n harmonics that converts the frequency that's being played to the number of harmonics. And then there's this mix. The mix will blend these waveforms, where 0 plays the first one. Actually, I'll put a float there. So this value here at 0 would play the first waveform, at 1/3 would play the second, at 2/3 would play the third, and at 1.0 will play the fourth. So I'll put it at 0.0 for now. So now we need to replace this sine wave. Instead of playing a sine wave, we want to play our custom oscillator. And so there's one more thing. Because I've just created this component, I'll need to calculate the wavetables. These in the future, this will be done automatically, maybe in the next version even so. But for now, I'll calculate them all. Okay, so now here, when I select one of these outputs, you see it goes red, because the table is flowing through to this component. And now we can play, because that's at 0, our first waveform should play. Yeah. Now the second waveform, which is just a sine wave, would play at 1/3. and the third waveform would play at 2/3, and the fourth would play at 1. Now we can blend through them, and I'm going to do that with the also new component, which is the knob. I'm going to connect it to there, and now at 0 it starts with the square wave, and it will go through all these waveforms up to 1 there. So let's try that. So then another thing you can do is you can create your own waveforms. For example, this code here generates a sine wave. If I wanted the frequency to be double, you see the image updated to twice the frequency, or let's say 10 Hz of why did I mute it? Okay, 10 Hz. If I multiply this by, let's say, 10, it becomes more like a square wave. But I could put times cosine of theta times 1.5. Okay, so now we get this wave. Because this is a new wave, I'll calculate the table. And now our second wave is that one, which should play when that value there reaches 0.33. So now it goes from square to our new wave. To frequency times 3 to that last one. Okay, so here instead of a knob we could have like an LFO or an envelope, another ADSR connected to this input. We can another thing we can do is we can look at the tables. There's this component called the table show, and I'm going to plug the square. Okay, so that here you can see the different versions of the waves, starting with the first one is just like a sine wave. It's like cycling. The table actually has 512 versions, but this here is showing the first 120, I think. So I can also display the other ones. To copy component, there's a top right corner. If you drag it out, you can copy it. So let's look at the second one. So this is how it would look. Okay, so this is also useful for debugging. But so I think that's basically it.